How you doing? This is Andy Scott from the Andy Scott School of Golf here with Darin, Hovis and Harper Fitness. We want to talk about training for speed. What's the appropriate way to create and generate more speed when we train? So Darin, take them through kind of our speed sticks and how you would do that.
Yeah, one of the common pitfalls is getting into a product immediately like the super speed golf, particularly if we've got underlying issues such as like pain, if you're having any back pain, things like that after you're done playing. This isn't something to get into right away. We want to make sure that you're moving well. Otherwise, you're just layering on speed on top of poor motion, which isn't a good thing. We want to try to get the motion down as good as possible and get the body moving as good as possible before we do something like this. But say we've gotten to this point, super speed golf is a great way to increase in speed. So there's different levels of sticks. So I've got the lighter set right now. This would be a junior or woman's set or a senior flex. Then we've also got a heavier shaft for the men. But what we do is go from light to a medium, which is still lighter than your driver, to slightly heavier than your driver. So these are weighted as such that we can swing fastest with the light stick. We're going to slow down by the time we get to here, but we want to try to maintain as much of a percentage of the light stick as possible with the heavy one.
Yeah, I would think it's a big misnomer. A lot of people put heavy things on their clubs and they swing before they go play to warm up, but the research has proven that actually slows you down because that's such a heavy object. It's impossible for you to swing that club faster.
Right.
So you're not really training yourself to swing faster if you're doing that. Now, it could be a warm-up that's moving your body, so I could understand maybe that. What's your thoughts on putting a heavy object on your club and trying to create speed and improve speed that way?
I think something like the orange whip is great because it gets you feeling a little bit more range. You can get a feeling of where the club head might be. In terms of if you're trying to create speed with heavier, absolutely the wrong way to go about it. And baseball players have done this poorly for decades.
Yeah, put donuts on their
back. Exactly. So super speed has a baseball set now too, but the research has shown that if we're going more than 20% lighter than your driver, so this is not quite that, you're going to actually slow down. So we're trying to speed up, we're going the opposite way, right? So we want to make sure that we're not going too light and we're not going too heavy in the other direction.
So when it comes to training for speed, first things first, you gotta have a decent motion is what you're saying. Good sequencing in order to start training with something of this caliber.
Right.
So how would we know we're ready? Would that be kind of like, okay, Andy says you're ready for those aiming or those speed sticks? What would you say is kind of I give you permission to start using these?
Yeah, I would say if you're coming to see me and we're checking off, I would say 80-90% of the boxes in terms of movements. I would say we've got good quality there. We're not having any pain before or after the round, any issues there. On Andy's side, I would say you can make some gains right away just by changing some simple things in the swing.
Right.
You don't have to go into speed training. You can make improvements in speed just by moving better.
Correct.
And having the right technique. So you don't always have to jump right into this, but if you've already done that and you've checked off those boxes, I would say you're ready for these.
Yeah, the speed training for me comes with usually a higher level golfer. From my perspective, if I have a new player that's just learning how to play the game, it's the last thing I'm thinking about because I want to get them moving the club, moving their body correctly. But for a high level junior especially, you have to train speed early.
Right.
Because once they get to a certain age, it's hard to create a lot of speed after a certain age group. So if you're 18 and you're swinging 105 miles an hour, it's hard to get that player to 115, 120. It needs to be developed much earlier.
Right.
So I would say that's what I've noticed. The kids that are swinging fast at a younger age, they continue to swing fast all through their career. The kids that are hitting short at a younger age, they're hitting it short later in their career. So I feel like we as coaches have to be able to tap into when is it appropriate to really start working on maxing out speed and learning how to increase speed. I think you can do it early.
Right, absolutely. And what I see on a sports-specific side of things is the golfers that have a background of quick, explosive sports, say it's hurdles or the 100-meter dash, anything that's quick, explosive, they tend to have a lot more success in gaining distance, but hitting the ball further when it comes to golf. Just because they have more type 2 fast twitch fibers, they're more explosive, less of an endurance athlete. You don't see your cross-country runners typically being your longest hitters on the golf course. So that's some advice for the younger crowd as well. But for our older adults that are playing, your training should also mirror some of that as well. So if you don't have that sport-specific background, you can actually do stuff in the gym or away from the course to help benefit and build some of that fast twitch muscle tendency that we want to tap into in the golf swing.
Yeah, I do a lot of tests with my juniors, a lot of my elite schools and camps. I just do some basic tests like how fast can you run from here to there, 40 yards, long jump, being able to do agility type drills.
Right.
And the athlete shows up pretty quickly. It's easy for us to see who's very good and who's got explosive movements. And it's usually the kids that have played, like you said, lots of different styles of sports and explosive sports like soccer, basketball, cross training, whatever. But you always tend to see the longest hitter is that athlete, that little athlete that's jumping the furthest, that's the fastest. And guess what? They're usually the one that's out hitting everybody else.
Right.
So if you can get your youngsters doing explosive things or playing other sports, I think that's the biggest thing, because too many golfers today are singularly picking golf as the sole only thing that they're going to do.
Right. And even when
That's a
we're older
mistake.
too, the same thing happens. It's golf 3 or 4 times, maybe even more times throughout the week. We're not doing any other activities. So challenge yourself off the course too.
For sure. You can do a lot of different things to get your body moving, because in my opinion, as we get older, we become single plane movers. We just move forwards.
Right.
We don't get a lot of agility and movement, which kind of loses some of our power that we'd love to see on the golf course.
Yeah.
So let's just say we've got somebody, we like where their sequence is at. How can this benefit and increase speed by this little program that they put together?
This basically just works on overspeed training. So we go from light, medium to heavy, back down to light. So Super Speed has their protocols. They are a bit lengthy. So in terms of training, I actually like to shorten it. So I'll actually go 3 swings, right and left-handed with the light, switch to the medium one, same thing, 3 each way, 3 each way with the heavy, and then I'll just drop it back down to here. So that's where I would start people out for the first couple of weeks. Now, that's not a lot of swings. And when we're training for speed in the gym, when we add resistance, we're only going maybe max 4 to 6 repetitions. We're not doing 30, 40 repetitions like some of us might be doing out on the range. I see players out there hitting driver for 20 plus minutes, and it's just like this machine gun type thing.
That's not a good format.
You're hitting a lot of balls, you're working hard, you're gonna get that sensation that, wow, I had a really good training session. But my advice, if you're trying to gain speed, is say you have 30 minutes to hit balls, select 4 that you can set aside, and for those 4 balls, you're gonna swing at those as aggressively as you're comfortable.
So kind of max out.
Yeah, max it out. Get comfortable swinging a bit faster, maybe 5% faster than what you're normally swinging, and just look for contact. I bet you'd probably be surprised at how well you hit the ball swinging at a faster speed.
Yeah, that's something that the young kids or the juniors that we work with, I want to find out what their max is.
Right.
Like, let's hit a driver, your normal tournament mode. Now let's see what happens when you add as much as you got and see what happens to your distance and your direction. I'd rather be okay with them swinging a little too hard early,
Right.
and then tone them back a little bit later in their career.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, training speed for
you swing this lightest stick 100 miles an hour, usually what I'll see is 85 to 90% of that 100 miles an hour on the course. So just because you're swinging this fast doesn't mean you're going to be hitting 100 miles an hour out on the course. That's typical of what I've seen. So the max I've had in the studio here is 147.
Woo!
That's pretty fast.
Wow.
So he's got 120 mile an hour plus club head speed.
With his actual driver.
Yeah, long ball hitter, professional.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So why don't you show them real quick just what it looks like to kind of swing right, left, the intensity of it. Do you take one swing and take a break?
Yeah.
Do you swing and swing again? Just so they kind of have an idea of what that looks like.
Right. We do the two heavier ones. So I've got the lightest one here, and I'm just gonna back up. So what I want is 3 swings as quickly as I can, right-handed. So we're here.
Is that all you got, bro?
And we're gonna go lefty. Hopefully I don't get it here.
This feels weird, doesn't it? I like how it balances out both sides. I think that's important.
So say I get 100 miles an hour right-handed with this shaft, I'm looking to be within 10 miles an hour
On both sides?
left-handed. Yep. So if you're seeing a big discrepancy there, left-handed is actually something that we want to work on accelerating.
Yeah, I do this usually weekly at my elite schools, and they're usually within 10 miles an hour. So it's pretty interesting that you said I didn't even know that information. I just wanted to see how close their speeds were on both sides. There's a couple of them got pretty close to the same speed as their right side. So pretty impressive. Now, you do that once or all 3?
You do this once, and then I would move up to the green stick, and then I would move up to the heavier stick, and then back down to the light. So usually when you jump back down to the light is when you're gonna see that spike in speed. Yeah, usually I'll see that maybe max go up 6, 7 even miles an hour, which is pretty significant.
How much time in between? Because you just jump right in.
I'll jump right in. If you've got a lower endurance threshold, then you would want to give yourself some time in between these. So obviously I'm doing 6 swings with each club, 21 swings total. So that is quite a bit, and I'll even cut it down a little bit more than that if you're feeling like you're getting some fatigue. But if you're not getting that jump with the last one, try to lengthen out the time that you're spending in between swings. That way you've got time to recover. Think of on the golf course, we've got maybe 15 minutes
Right.
sometimes before we're swinging the big stick again.
So you can give yourself a little space in between each different club.
Absolutely.
Or different
I would
swings.
encourage you to.
All right, cool. Anything else you want to add to speed? Like when would we start seeing some benefits and improvements on the course? What kind of timeline are we looking at for somebody that really gets after the speed training, and when are they going to start seeing some of that, when they play?
Usually you'll see a bump right away. I would say after 2 weeks, you're going to see a bit more of a permanent change. And then if you're doing this for 1-2 months, then you're going to see that distance start to become more of a permanent normality.
Yeah, I've seen a few cases where we've gone from just under 100 miles an hour after about a month or 2 of training of this. I've seen 7 to 10 miles an hour increase.
Yeah, which is massive.
So that equates to a lot of more yardages if you're hitting it in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So 10 miles an hour doesn't seem much, but that could equal 60 to 70 plus yards in distance. So it's definitely something I would recommend. And if you're going to use it, just make sure you're being consistent with it. Would you do this every day?
No, 2-3 times max a week.
Okay, so 2-3 times max a week kind of gets you in the right amount.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So thanks for joining us.